Hi, fourth graders. Good to see you today. We are celebrating Sports Day for our Spirit Day today, May 6th. And I have as my background Truist Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, which is the stadium of the Atlanta Braves. And I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and attended many Braves games over the years, at that time at Turner Field, but even before that. And I'm giving a shout out to the Braves. Have on my Braves World Series tee today. So very excited about that. And also shout out to the Panthers and their stadium, which is very close to us, and we see it every day from our school, which is pretty cool. So shout out to the Carolina Panthers as well. And some of you know that today, if we were in school, this was the day set aside for our school musical, the Lion King Junior musical. So I'm sporting my little Lion King pin here because we would be at CPCC this evening at the Halton Theater enjoying the Lion King Junior musical. Hope we'll be doing that in the future. We are in the final pages of Out of My Shell, and I'm looking forward to completing the book with you. We're on page 203 at the top of the page, and as you know, Lainey was in the hospital, and now she's out of the hospital, and things are kind of progressing in terms of her well-being and getting better, and also just with the story kind of coming to closure with the family. So let's read. We're at the top of page 203. Uncle Angelo went on to tell us about Glass Beach in Guantanamo Bay. I used to walk it as a boy growing up in Cuba. The beach is littered with sea glass, he said. Some of it is said to have washed ashore from rum bottles tossed into the sea by pirates long ago. Diego shouted, "Ah!" and Cisco pretended to have a pegged leg. They clanked their driftwood together. Each tumbled piece has had its own journey, its own story, like us, I guess, Angelo said, stringing several more together on a strand. Dad told me about that beach, I said brightly. Here's a Forrester family fabulous fact for all of you. Glass Beach collected so many mermaid tears because it has an odd shape. It's set back a little from the rest of the shoreline. With all the sparkling gems, it's called Pearl of the Antilles. The mention of Dad had just popped out of my mouth, and no one even reacted. No one winced or squirmed in their seats. Aunt Michelle didn't sling any insults, and even Mom smiled and said, Pearl of the Antilles. I'd like to see that someday. Phase 2 of my plan involved contacting the organization Sarah had given me the number for, the Island Turtle Watch. The woman I spoke with confirmed that they had relied entirely on volunteers. She said anyone could adopt turtle nests and make donations that went toward nesting supplies and educational materials, and that funded the transportation of sick or injured turtles. I think I surprised her with my last question, one about the Turtle Watch and Tuesday nights. But when I told her why, she promised to meet me in front of the beachcomber the following day. After I got off the phone, everyone agreed selling the sea glass wind chimes and necklaces and donating the proceeds to the Turtle Watch was the best way to go. I snapped photos of our creations with my phone, then sent the pics to Dad and my friends. My phone hadn't stopped dinging since Mom returned it, and I finally responded to everyone back home. Mia, Abigail, and Emily all wanted necklaces, and Dad said he'd take 2 wind chimes for his apartment balcony. My heart ballooned. We weren't even finished making all the goods, and already we had 5 sales. It wasn't a bounty of riches, but it was something, enough to adopt a turtle nest. Mom wondered aloud about opening an Etsy shop when we got back to Colorado. I can sell the necklaces and wind chimes along with some of my paintings. What do you think? When we all said we loved the idea and Lainey started making a list of the many things she could sell in her store, Mom's face lit as bright as the moon on a dark, clear night. She said we could order more sea glass online. Who knew how many more nests we could adopt by next summer? The following morning, Aiden appeared at the front door with a goofy grin as wide as the sea. "Did you do this?" he asked. He grabbed my arm and pulled me onto the front step beside him. I nodded and smiled as his grip slid from my arm to my hand. Fingers intertwined, we hurried next door. My mom helped me make a few phone calls. Turns out the media thought an old man rescuing a child would make a terrific human interest story, I said. But you saved Lainey, too. I shrugged. I don't mind giving your grandpa all the credit. And Mr. Shaw was chomping at the bit for the positive exposure. I bet he was, Aiden scoffed. News vehicles were scattered around the beachcomber, and Mr. Emerson was being interviewed in front of the inn. Mr. Shaw stood beside him in a suit that was all wrong for the sweltering Florida heat. He dabbed at his forehead with a silk handkerchief. He looks miserable, Aiden noted. Just wait, I grinned. We nudged in close to the swarm of newscasters and guests who had gathered on the front lawn. Mr. Shaw seemed totally unaware that the flower beds were being flattened beneath a mismatch of dress shoes, flip-flops, and loafers. He was beaming as one of the reporters asked Mr. Emerson about saving a girl and a turtle all in one night. Even though the question was directed at Aiden's grandfather, Mr. Shaw hogged the microphone. He spoke in a smooth and silky voice, proclaiming Aiden's grandfather a highly regarded employee and local hero. Highly regarded employees and local heroes don't get fired, I whispered in Aiden's ear, and his eyes shimmered with delight behind his glasses. I wanted to celebrate with him, but I couldn't yet. What came next would be harder. But if I'd learned anything the past few months, it was that sometimes things have to be said. It's not okay to pretend everything is all right when it isn't. And I couldn't wait for someone else to act. Sometimes it had to be me. We're going to stop there in the middle of page 206. I'm afraid or maybe not afraid, but she's on to something. And you know she's going to go for it. I think it's about turtles and saving turtles. We'll see. So thank you, boys and girls. We'll pick up there, page 206 tomorrow. Take care of yourselves, okay? Bye now.